What if some of the most controversial files in modern American history were still surrounded by unanswered questions? For years, the case involving convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has fueled global speculation, political debate, and demands for transparency. Now, that story is taking another dramatic turn inside Congress. So what exactly happened? Why is Congress now demanding testimony from the nation's top law enforcement official? And what could this mean for the long-running questions surrounding Epstein's network? Let's break it down. The Oversight Committee voted 24-19 to issue the subpoena requiring Bondi to appear before the panel. The motion was introduced by South Carolina Republican Representative Nancy Mace, and notably, several Republicans joined Democrats in supporting the measure. That kind of bipartisan agreement is relatively rare in Washington, and it highlights just how much pressure has been building around the Justice Department's handling of the Epstein files. Representative Mace said the purpose of the subpoena is simple transparency. According to her, the American people deserve to know whether all evidence connected to Epstein's criminal network has been properly disclosed. She also emphasized that survivors of Epstein's abuse deserve justice and accountability. The case surrounding Epstein has remained controversial for years. Epstein, a wealthy financier with connections to influential figures around the world, was accused of running a large-scale sex trafficking operation involving underage girls. Authorities allege that the network exploited vulnerable victims while maintaining connections with powerful individuals. In 2019, while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges, Epstein died inside a federal detention facility. His death, officially ruled a suicide, triggered a wave of public suspicion and conspiracy theories. But even after his death, the investigation into his activities did not simply disappear. Instead, questions about his associates, financial networks, and possible accomplices have continued to linger. Many people have asked the same question for years. Was Epstein acting alone, or was he part of a larger network involving other powerful individuals? One of the biggest controversies revolves around the possibility of a so-called client list. This would, at least in theory, identify people who may have been connected to Epstein's activities or benefited from his trafficking network. In July 2025, the United States Department of Justice announced that it had found no official document that could be described as a client list. That statement immediately sparked backlash across the political spectrum. Lawmakers from both parties questioned how such a high-profile case involving numerous allegations and years of investigation could produce so little clarity about who might have been involved. As a result, members of Congress began pushing for the full release of investigative files related to the Epstein case. The Justice Department eventually began releasing portions of those records in December 2025. But honestly, that process has also become a source of controversy. Critics argue that many of the documents released so far contain heavy redactions, meaning large sections of text have been blacked out. Others say the files reveal very little new information about the broader network Epstein allegedly operated. Some lawmakers also believe certain records mentioned in previous reports may not have been included in the public release at all. These concerns helped drive the decision to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi. Bondi has faced criticism before over the way Epstein-related materials were distributed publicly. At one point, binders containing documents connected to the case were shared with conservative influencers. However, critics said those materials appeared to contain little new information. Supporters of the subpoena argue that Congress now needs direct answers from the Justice Department about how the files have been handled, what has been redacted, and whether any information has been withheld from the public. Interestingly, some of the strongest pressure for transparency has come from within the Republican Party itself. Representative Thomas Massie, who co-sponsored the subpoena resolution, has raised additional concerns related to possible financial settlements tied to sexual misconduct allegations involving lawmakers. Massie argues that if taxpayer money were ever used to quietly settle such claims, the public has a right to know. From his perspective, transparency is not just about Epstein himself. It's also about accountability for how government institutions may have handled allegations connected to the case. Legally speaking, Congress has the authority to issue subpoenas as part of its oversight responsibilities. These subpoenas allow lawmakers to compel testimony and demand documents when they believe government agencies must explain their actions. If Attorney General Bondi complies with the subpoena, she will appear before the Oversight Committee and answer questions about several key issues. Lawmakers are expected to ask about how the Justice Department handled Epstein-related records, why certain materials were redacted, and whether any documents remain unreleased. They may also seek clarification on the timeline for future document disclosures and whether additional investigative records still exist. In theory, failing to comply with a congressional subpoena could lead to contempt of Congress proceedings. However, disputes like this are often resolved through negotiations between Congress and the executive branch. This investigation is also part of a broader effort by lawmakers to examine Epstein's connections with powerful figures. The committee has already questioned several prominent political figures who had historical ties or associations with Epstein. Among them are former United States President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who both reportedly sat for closed-door depositions as part of the congressional inquiry. Those sessions were designed to help investigators understand the nature of past relationships with Epstein and whether those connections played any role in the broader network investigators have been examining. At this point, the Oversight Committee will move forward by scheduling a hearing date for Bondi's testimony. That hearing could become a major moment in the ongoing debate over transparency in the Epstein investigation. Lawmakers say their goal is to determine whether the federal government has fully disclosed the truth about Epstein's network, or whether key pieces of information are still hidden. Because of the public interest surrounding the case, the outcome of this congressional inquiry could have significant political and legal implications. For many observers, the central question remains the same. After years of investigations, lawsuits, document releases, and speculation, will the full story of Jeffrey Epstein's network ever be completely revealed? For now, the subpoena ensures that the issue will remain firmly in the national spotlight. And depending on what happens next, this could become one of the most closely watched congressional hearings in the coming months. If you found this breakdown helpful and want clearer explanations of major global news stories, make sure you like this video, share it with others who want to stay informed, and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.